Hello, Meg Cabot fans. It's a very special day today. You'll be watching Meg Cabot sitting down with the HarperCollins Library marketing guru, Lainey Mays, super fan of Meg. And they'll be talking for about 30 minutes, but please be sure to ask questions and leave comments. We'll get to those at the end, and you'll also be entered for a chance to win a finished copy of No Judgments when it goes on sale. Super fun. So, without further ado, we'll get to the interview. Enjoy.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here, Meg. Well, first, I think we should toast. We have our screwdrivers.
Yes.
It's never too early for this.
Very important hurricane drink.
Right. And it's so hot in New York right now that this is very refreshing.
We're actually having a little bit of a hurricane. We're having the remnants of Hurricane Barry right now. So it's kind of good that we're having this little hurricane party. I mean, hurricanes are very serious.
Yes.
We're having a little fun with it right now. But that's kind of what you have to do. You have to have a sense of humor about it, because why not?
Well, before we get into the book, I just want to reiterate again how thankful I am for you to be here. I am the biggest fan, and I am the envy of all my friends because your books mean so much to me. So thank you. I just remember growing up and reading, and I have this really specific memory of just having this voracious need to read and knowing that I can be quirky and learn, and you just didn't talk down to me. And anyway, so thank you so much. I am stoked to be here.
Well, thank you, and thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
This is fun.
So we're going to get into the book, which is No Judgments. It comes out in September.
Yes.
And this is for our adult fans. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the book?
Well, yeah, it's actually the first book in a new series that I'm doing that is set on a small tropical island called Little Bridge. There's actually a little novella that precedes it, but you don't actually have to have read that novella to understand what's going on in No Judgments. And it is about a young lady who moves to the island, and her timing could be a little better because a few months after she gets there, the island is hit by a hurricane. And the reason it's called Little Bridge is because it's connected to the Florida Keys by Little Bridge, and the Little Bridge gets washed out, and so everybody's trapped there for the hurricane. But she makes some friends and maybe finds a little bit of romance along the way. So
yeah, I mean that's a thing that happens for everybody in hurricanes. I mean, things wash away and you can't get to it, or if you're stuck there.
Yeah.
And you actually stayed because you live in the Key West.
That is correct. It is based on a real life thing that happened to me actually during Hurricane Irma. Obviously, if there's a hurricane coming your way and you're told to evacuate, you should evacuate.
We have a little asterisk. It's please do not stay for the...
Yeah, don't do what the girl in this book did, which is she did not evacuate. She had many opportunities to do so, and she did not, but she actually had some reasons why she didn't evacuate. And when you read the book, you'll find out what they are. But some of them actually were my own reasons why I didn't evacuate. One of which was that there had been another hurricane right before Irma, which happened in Texas, Hurricane Harvey. And so there was no gas, actually, to get out. And in the Florida Keys, where I live in Key West, there's only one road, and so if you have to drive out and you have no gas, you're kind of out of luck. And we didn't realize that Irma was coming quite as quickly as it did. We were told it was going to Miami, so we're like, we're fine! And then we were not fine. But we did have a generator, and we had some really great hurricane food that we had gathered. This is, if you're wondering why we have
inspiration.
Yeah, maybe not the healthiest options, but we felt like we were going to be okay, and we had plenty of bottled water as well, and lots of friends who were staying as well. And we also had a very sick cat, which although there's a dog on this cover, there's actually a dog in the story as well, but there's a cat that the heroine, Bree, has just adopted, who's a very elderly cat named Gary, who had just had all his teeth removed because he has, this is very interesting, feline stomatitis, in case you want to know, which is a disease that cats can get where they become allergic to their own teeth. And so my cat actually had that, a very elderly cat named Allie that I just adopted, and she had to have all her teeth removed. And we were like, we can't travel with our little baby. So we're like, we'll be fine. You know, we were very lucky. But yeah, if you're told to evacuate.
Yeah. I mean, you have all kinds of fun animal names in the book. I mean,
yes.
you're known for giving animals great names in general.
I didn't know that, but thank
But,
you.
to me, anyway. But there's lots of fun ones in the book, like the 90210 characters. Each dog has a name, or like Gary, Bob, all the dogs.
Yes.
So there are a lot of fun names. Some Star Wars names are thrown in, which is exciting. And I was showing Meg earlier that I didn't mean to do this, but it just kind of worked out this way. I went to get notes, and I had my little Sheba sticky notes, and they're all in my book for this. So it all kind of worked out. I was really getting in the spirit early. So this story, there's a backstory that is true. So do you want to talk about that too?
So something that happened after Irma was that, we had no power. We had power because we had a generator. But everybody's cell phones went out. There was no cellular power on the island, no internet. So nobody had any way to communicate. Now, the news was saying that we had been wiped out. The QS didn't exist anymore. And the same thing happens in the book, that everybody's told that Little Bridge Island no longer exists. But we were actually up the Keys. The damage was much greater. But we had no way to tell people, hey, we're okay. But in my house, we have a very ancient thing called a landline, and the landline still worked. Not very many people had landlines, but kind of word spread around the island that we had a landline. So people were coming to my house that I didn't even know and asking if they could use my phone to call people and let them know that they're okay, and we were like, sure, that's fine. Being a writer, though, I was kind of eavesdropping a little bit because it was so interesting to me to hear what people were saying, as long as they were speaking English. Some people were speaking, all languages, Croatian, and we had Spanish. But one young lady who showed up on my porch, her name was Brett. She's an amazing young woman. She asked if she could call her mother, and I said sure, and I was a little bit eavesdropping. And she was telling her mother that a thing that had happened was that the hurricane came so quickly and there was kind of so little warning. People just left, and they left their animals, their pets, behind, thinking that they would be able to get back quickly to the island. And what had happened in Key West was that actually the road washed out and people couldn't get back. And so they had no way to get back to their pets. And what Britt wanted to do was, she asked her mom, can you post on Facebook, since obviously we didn't have the internet, letting people know, any Key West residents, that if they had left their pets behind, to call Britt's mom and leave a message that with their name and their address. Don't post it on the internet that they, had left their house empty, and the kind of pets they were, and how Britt could break into their house and feed their animals. And I was like, whoa. First of all, I couldn't believe that anyone would leave their pets behind. So I have to admit I was a little judgy about that, which is one of the reasons why this book is called No Judgments. Also, though, I had not evacuated, so don't judge me, which we had been told to do. So when Britt got off the phone, I was like, what? People didn't. They left their pets, and she's like, hey, no judgments. People, there's lots of reasons why this might have happened. Maybe they had to snag a ride with somebody else. Maybe they have 5 dogs and they couldn't fit them in the car. But whatever, we can't say, that they're bad people, because then they won't call, and then the pets will suffer. Right. And so people started leaving messages with her mom, and every day she would come over and pick up the messages, and she had like a little axe, and I think we loaned her maybe a pair of those. Oh my gosh.
I gotta go break into this house.
And she started breaking into people's houses and feeding their pets, and we gave her our leftover cat food. By that time, my cat could only eat soft food, so we ate all this dry food. And she was getting I think that the SPCA gave her stuff, and she was going out there and doing that, and I was like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. I loved it. So she kind of became the model for the heroine of my book, Bree, and she knows it, so it's okay. She's fine with it. Nothing else in this book that happens to Bree is all based on Britt. So Bree, the fact that she has fled her life back in New York City, all the reasons, like her personal problems, nothing is based on Britt. The fact that she has this very hot affair with this guy who is an islander who's a carpenter, and that does not happen to Britt. Britt is totally happy in her own relationship right now, but it was really, really a great experience, that part of it, to see somebody just put themselves out there and help so many pets. So that was really great, and that was kind of the heart of the book.
Yeah. So what was the aftermath like after the hurricane? I know some restaurants kind of gave out stuff. Are there
Yes.
organizations for pets even?
Yeah, people came together. A lot of the restaurants that were still, a lot of those people hadn't evacuated, so they started handing out food for free, cooking meals every day for people who were still there. You could show up at certain times and just get an amazing steak dinner. But yeah, the SPCA started coming out, giving free animal
That's awesome.
medical service. All of the vets that were still on the island were offering that as well. One thing that I did not know was that before the hurricane, they were trying to foster out as many animals as they could. So if you could take pets into your home, or if you were evacuating and you could take pets with you, that was really great. So something that they always ask is if you could donate to your local SPCA or animal shelter. That's really great, because then they use that money to help people. You don't know it, but you're helping people who have hurricanes in their area, because you're giving to people who are actually helping to foster those kinds of pets. So it was really, I mean, I hate to say it, it was a very heartwarming experience to be in this hurricane. I was very privileged that, I had a generator and a landline, so we were able to be pretty much okay until the water went out. And then it wasn't so great, because then we were getting warnings every day not to drink the water. But fortunately we had...
Yeah, that's why you
And
have a
of
lot of
course we had
supplies.
Yes.
Yeah, you can
I would
warm
not
yourself
recommend that, not for the
up
kids.
and then cool yourself down.
Not for the kids. This stuff's okay.
So when Bree comes to the island, she's there for like 3 months or so, and there's this big. She's going. We're not going to tell you everything, but she's coming from this experience.
She had a bad time where she was, yes.
Trying to find herself and to get back into some things she loves. But there's this island pride. Is that something that's big in Key West?
Yeah, it's a very touristy town. Key West is a resort town, and much like Little Bridge is a resort town, and they get most of their money from tourist dollars. And so, if you're somebody who actually lives there, it's not that you look down on the tourists at all, because that's where your money's coming from. But you kind of, you're used to people coming and not staying very long, and then leaving. So, unless you've really stayed for a long time, you're not considered a local. And they actually call people who are born in Key West, they're conchs. And so, yeah. And if you're not a conch, then you're a freshwater. And, you don't know how to do anything pretty much. But once you've been through a hurricane or two, then you might get a little bit of cred. So Bree is very concerned, because she's actually had been coming to the island for quite a few years with her family on vacation. And then she's lived there for 3 months. So she's like, she's not a conch because it's not Key West, but she's like, I'm not a freshwater. But of course, people are accusing her of that, and they're a little judgmental about her skills. So once again, no judgment. She's like, hey, I can handle myself. She really thinks she can. Another reason she might have wanted to evacuate, but she's got the sick cat, and she's got, she doesn't have a car, so she's got some issues. So I really feel like we need to not be so judgmental of people and their reasons for some of the decisions they make. But however, I have to say I'm one of the judgiest people in the world, so I'm trying to be less so.
So there's a great PS section that's coming too, with a lot of like recipes and fun things.
Yes, how to make some of the delicious food. If your power's gone out and you need to make something very yummy, you can, and also doesn't need refrigeration.
Right.
That will be in the PS, yeah.
So there's this saying, like, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. Exactly. But I feel like that's kind of Bree's experience.
It is. She actually makes the recipes that are going to be in the book, yeah.
So as she's going along, she's trying to find who she is and dealing with these things, meeting Drew. Like, what are some characteristics that you, like, admire about her, or that you had fun writing for Bree?
Well, she's very determined and doesn't give up easily. She's very resourceful, obviously. The fact that she went and saved all those animals, much like Britt, I thought was amazing. It is very hot after a hurricane. I am not a person who can deal with hot weather. I don't know why I live in Florida. I have air conditioning, but she, the fact that she did that was amazing to me. And she stuck it out, and she, I think, really proved that she is maybe a little bit of a freshwater, but she's getting there as far as hanging out with the locals, and I thought she did a good job.
Yeah.
I'm judging my own book now, but
well, we have so many more meanings to the title. We can just keep writing.
I know, that's crazy. But yeah, and so I'm excited about this new series. And so yeah, also at the end of the PS, there's a little bit about the next book in the series, which is the one I'm working on now. It's not going to be about Bree. It's about characters who are actually in this book, at least one of them. And it's the sheriff. And he may be having a romance with the town librarian.
Some people might relate to these.
I know. And I was originally calling it The Sheriff and the Librarian only because that's literally what it's about. That will not be the title. We're working on the title right now. So if you have any suggestions, please just know. We're going to get it. We're getting there. It's going to be good.
Right. And I think what's also really fun about the book is that every beginning of every chapter there's a little something about the storm.
There is a storm tip, yes.
Like this one, just as an example, like risk of electrocution, drowning, and other physical threats can accompany hurricanes. But in the chapter, there's like some electricity flowing between the characters.
Exactly. Thank you for noticing that. That is, every writer loves it when somebody actually notices their incredibly clever thing that was that. But yeah, I really wanted to, because when you're actually in a hurricane, you're constantly getting handed out. Now, we were not getting them by phone because all the phones were completely dead, but we were getting handed
like
notices.
paper?
Yeah. By that time it was too late.
Right.
But we were getting notices about food will be we actually got those meals that the Army gets.
Oh, like dry.
It's in there. You can burn on a little.
Oh.
If I could speak, I would tell you it's not that. It's very early for me. I don't really get going until about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah, meals ready to eat. Yes, the Army came and was handing those out to people, and so we got little notices saying like, in the Publix parking lot at 1 p.m. meals ready to eat will be handed out, and people were trying to decide which ones because they had like Chinese food that you could get, like sweet and sour chicken, or some people wanted the chicken cacciatore, and so people were trading. No one actually really it was. I don't think people really needed them because most people, the restaurants were still serving at that point, but people wanted to see how they tasted. Yeah. And it was decided that the sweet and sour chicken was the best.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, it was delicious.
Well, I'm glad it worked out and it was edible and
no, they're delicious.
Good. Let's talk about Drew. So Drew is the love interest.
Yes.
And he, you want to say a little bit about him?
Drew is a character, a local who actually Bree knew for quite a while because she's a waitress. She works as a waitress in the town popular cafe, and so she's been serving him breakfast for months, and he never really paid any attention to her until he noticed that she was not evacuating, and he took great umbrage at that, as he should, and informed her that she should get out of town, and she was like, no, if you're staying, I'm staying. And also she has this cat and a lot of other problems. It makes it difficult. A lot of people have problems. It's also very expensive to evacuate, and where are you going to go? And this particular hurricane encompassed the entire state of Florida, as Irma did. So, you're going to go stay in a hotel and still be hit by the hurricane. Yeah. It's a lot. So that's how they started sparring with one another. And so he was an intellectually challenging person to deal with, but also extremely good looking. So... And he works at restoring old homes and is a carpenter and has a large extended family on the island. So it seemed like everywhere Bree went, she ran into somebody that was related to him. So she was not too happy about that for a little bit of the time. But then as the storm approached, she started being a little happier about it because she started finding that she had places to go and people to help her out, which he turned out to be kind of willing to do a little bit. But he's also a dog lover, and he has 3 dogs when the book begins, and he named them all Bob because he feels like dogs are pack animals, and he is the leader of the pack, so why should he give his dogs different names, which Bree is horrified by. And that's actually based on a friend of mine named Rooney, who also has 3 dogs named Bob, which I think is hilarious. And it does work out. They
listen to him?
She says if one of the dogs is doing something wrong, they're probably all doing something wrong, so you just yell, Bob, stop it! And they're all like, okay.
They just hear the high pitch.
They're very cute dogs, yeah. So
that's actually really funny that it's...
Yes, it is based on a
true thing.
And there's an incident in the book that also concerns Drew where Bree, they're at a party and they observe someone who's mistreating a dog, which is actually based on a true situation. The first night that I moved to Key West, we were in a bar, and it was actually a barbecue restaurant, which was also a bar, and there was a gentleman who had a dog, and he kept kicking. Every time the dog would kind of cry to leave the bar, the gentleman would give the dog a kind of violent nudge with his foot to keep it from crying. And another gentleman at the bar said to this guy, if you kick that dog one more time, I'm going to lay you out.
Wow.
And the guy did. He kicked the dog one more time, and the guy got up and he punched him in the face and knocked him right off the bar stool. And the guy who'd kicked the dog was very upset by this, as you might be, although you're a dog kicker, so you kind of deserve it, I thought. And he jumped up and he ran out of the restaurant, leaving the dog, who stayed with the bartender. And we were all like, wow, why did we move here? This was like the Wild West or something. And about 2 minutes later, the police showed up with the guy who'd been punched in the face. And they said, this guy says, you punched him in the face. And everyone in the bar was frozen. We were like, we came here from Manhattan. We don't know what's happening. And the bartender said, he didn't punch him in the face, but that guy kicked that dog. And so the police arrested the guy for kicking the dog, and nobody. It was pretty.
Yeah, you kind of deserve
exciting,
it.
And so that actually happens in the book as well with Drew.
You deserve it at that point.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go around kicking dogs. That's animal cruelty, and in my opinion, I love animals, so I don't want to see that happen. So that's actually an example of something that really happened in Key West. My first night there.
Wow.
And the bartender ended up adopting the dog.
Oh.
I know! It's such a great place to live because people really love animals there. They love people too, but not dog kickers.
Right.
Okay.
So for Drew, who has all of these dogs, he's kind of contradictory. Like, he loves these dogs. He has the Bob names, but then he doesn't really judge Bree like everybody else.
Well,
and so
he judges her for not evacuating.
well, that's probably a good reason. But like, what makes them work? What qualities do they share that makes them work?
I think that they're both kind of lost souls in a way. They've both had some family conflicts. They both feel like they're kind of out there, but they're both a little bit dreamers and artists in a way. I mean, Bree has kind of always had this dream of being an artist. Drew is definitely artistic, and they both haven't really followed kind of the typical set kind of plan that a lot of people expect, especially, kind of in mainstream America, where you're going to go and have this like 9-to-5 job, or you're going to go to college and, get married right away and have kids. That neither of them have done that. And they're both kind of rebelling against that. And Bree in particular feels very lost and doesn't know what she kind of does know what she wants, but she feels like maybe that's not what she should want. And that's kind of how she's ended up in Little Bridge, which is a place where I think a lot of people, it's kind of almost the end of the world. It's where people end up when they maybe don't know what else to do, and it's during the course of the book maybe she finds herself.
Yeah. Well, I'm just curious, when you write like love interest, do qualities come first, or does like the person's job and their family, what comes first when you think of them?
I think it all just comes at the same time. It comes together, but I think a lot of the time what they kind of their place in the society where they're living has a lot to do with it, especially in this case, because especially where they meet. Why is he always at the cafe in the morning? So that she's waiting on him. That had a lot to do with his growth as a character.
Nice. Well, those are my book-related questions.
Oh, thank you. They were great.
Yeah, and if you guys, it comes out in September, but you can get a little taste of Little Bridge with the novella Bridal Boot Camp available now. So go check that out. Do we have any questions?
We do. We have a lot of fans, a lot of questions.
Yay!
Let's see here. Well, we have superfan Abby Burke who exclaims, "New series? Yes." And then she adds, "Wrote out Irma too, read She Went All the Way during it." So there you go.
That's a good reading choice.
Right.
For a hurricane.
And she also adds, "Doritos are essential storm supplies." So Abby's on point right now. So let's see here. Annie Elizabeth asks, when writing a story inspired at least in part by true events, How did you decide which details to keep true to your experience and which to fabricate or amp up for the story?
Well, I definitely asked permission, or at least, let people know that I was going to be writing about them a little bit. It was kind of hard to get a hold of Britt because she's a boat captain in real life. I know, she's so cool. I know. But
I would want her to come save my dog.
the local paper just ran a big story about her, so she knows about that. But I didn't want to have her personal life in it because also I wanted I wanted Bree, the character, to have a romance. And as I said, Britt is very happily already in a relationship. So, you want to have a story arc that is interesting. And so the people who I was writing about, most of them already have a great life, and you kind of got to have your character go through some stuff in order to have a book about them. So I didn't use anything from Britt's actual personal life. I only used what she did, which during the hurricane, which was an amazing, amazing thing. And I didn't use her job because Britt has a great, amazing job as a boat captain, and I also know nothing about that. So you want to write about stuff you actually know about. I know about being a waitress from having done that a little bit. And I know about being an artist, which Britt is. I love to paint, and I was in art school and stuff. So I think that you got to put in a little bit of yourself too in order to make the story interesting to you to write about. So even though you're writing maybe about other people that you find interesting, you also have to put in a lot of your own heart, because that's what keeps you. People are always asking, how do you write so many books, and how do you sit there and write a whole book? And the way that you do that is you write something that you feel passionately about and that you understand and love. Or hate, too. Hatred is a strong motivator.
It's a form of love,
if you're really mad about something, which I was really mad about, for instance, the guy who kicked the dog, or, maybe I was judging people who left their animals behind, but through writing this book, I got a better understanding of how these circumstances can happen, and so I'm not as judgy. I certainly, when I'm watching the news and I hear about people who don't evacuate, I'm certainly one of those people who's like, why didn't they evacuate? Well, now I understand how it can happen, and so I think that that's an important thing. What else?
What else do we have? Let's see. Sarah Elizabeth Santana asks, how do you go back and forth between YA and adult romance? Is it hard?
No, it's actually really good, because I think that if I had to just write one thing all the time, I would get so sick of it. So it's actually really nice to swap back and forth. In these books, you get to have really hot sex scenes. Not as hot as some other people's, but mine are pretty hot. But in YA, you kind of... it's not the temperature level is not that high, at least in my YA. And I also love writing about people's parents and having to maybe go to a dance or something, or a talent show, which grown-ups don't get to do that much. Have you noticed? Maybe they get to go to a wedding, but
the fun's
when's the last time you went to a dance?
I can't tell you.
I know, me too. So I think that adults get to do other things that are fun, but not like kids get to do.
Maybe we should throw a dance.
Camp.
Yeah.
Yeah, adults, we go on vacation, but
I guess
it's not the same. So there's different fun. So I actually like switching back and forth.
Let's see. Katie Ellsworth asks, will there be any more Heather Wells mysteries in the future?
I don't know. We'll see. Maybe. Not right now. Right now we're concentrating on the Little Bridge. That is enough. I'm tired.
I tried to count. And I don't even know if I got them all. But I think I was like age 9.
It's a lot. I've not tried to count. Yeah.
You guys can dive in if you can always find something for your mood. So Little Bridge is the foreseeable.
Yeah, I've got a comic, graphic novel, coming out with DC Comics in October, and that was illustrated by Cara McGee, so that's amazing. So that's the other thing that's coming out. But then right now, it's just this, and more of this. That's enough.
Let's see. And again, we have so many comments just expressing their love for you and your work.
Thank you.
Yes, feeling it. And Raiza Pacheco, I hope I got that right, Raiza, thank you. Does Bree have a best friend? I love all the Meg Cabot written BFFs.
Bree has actually a roommate who she does not listen to, Danielle, who's, I think, a great character. I would actually be interested in exploring her further, who is really super fun. She's an emergency room nurse who's based on a real emergency room nurse that I know, who actually is mandatorily evacuated because they mandatorily evacuate all emergency room personnel. So she's not in the book as much as I would have liked. She also has a best friend back home in New York City who she kind of communicates a little bit with, who's like, evacuate, what's wrong with you? So yeah, she does, but they're not, I feel like in the context of the book, if she'd had a best friend who actually stayed, the best friend would have been like, get out! Yeah. Which they all say, so no, not really. She has lots of friends, but the BFFs are like, no, why are you doing this? You're insane.
We have a few questions about location from Courtney and Cassandra, who, let's see, respectively asked, are you back in NYC to get inspiration for new book/series? And then Cassandra says, you are my favorite author. Ever think about doing a book in Wisconsin? So maybe how does location take place? Yeah.
I'm actually back in New York City because, well, I live here part of the time, so I have a place here. But I've been doing a lot of conferences. So we had BEA, we had, this next week we're doing Romance Writers of America.
Yes.
So
and you were at ALA with us.
I was at ALA, which actually was in DC, but the convenient part about that, besides that it was super fun, is that my mom lives in Annapolis, so I went to visit her, nice. So that was really fun. And then I went to ABA in Pittsburgh. So I've just been doing a ton of conferences, and also New York is one of the best places to hang out. I mean, it's been super fun. I did bring my cat, the toothless cat. She's kind of handling it. You know, she's used to going outside at least for a little while every day, so she's a little sad just looking out the window.
And it's too hot. Tell her stay inside. Air conditioner.
But as far as doing a book in Wisconsin, I would probably have to go there for a little while and check it out. I've been there. It's beautiful. But I would, I'd want to get a feel for the place.
And Cassandra was actually pushing for you to do a book tour in Wisconsin.
So a
there.
book tour. Okay, sure. Yeah, I've been there a few times, but I don't have any specific book events scheduled. I'll have to talk to Pam Javi.
Yes, well, she's
publicist
great.
Here, yeah, we'll see.
She'll see what she can do.
Push for your bookstore to invite me. That's what.
Or library.
And library.
Yes.
Or library. Sorry, yes.
Both.
Book festival, whatever.
Yes.
Well, I think that does it for our questions.
Oh, that was great.
It was a lot of fun.
That was fun.
Would you like a Dorito or an M&M?
Well, first I'm going to start with an M&M. Nice. I always start with dessert first.
Oh, that's smart.
So, yeah.
That's smart. I'm going to go with a Dorito.
Yeah, and I'm going to switch it up. Thank you so much, you guys. That was really fun. Thanks for coming. Look out for this book and then more books.
Mm-hmm.
That's
my Dorito eating.
That sounded like a warning. It wasn't a
warning.
Watch out
for hurricanes, not this book.
And evacuate. If you're told to evacuate, if you can't evacuate, then obey all your local city ordinances and warnings. Yes.
And check out the novella that's available now. And this will be September 24th.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. That was so fun.
Oh, and thank you.
Oh, yeah.
And a toast.
Cheers. Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. Again, No Judgments is coming this September. For librarians watching, the eGalley is available now, so do check it out and share the love with your coworkers and patrons. Everyone's really excited. Thanks, Meg.
Thank you.